This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina League.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Good Neighbor Podcast, broadcasting here out of South Charlotte. And I'm super excited today to talk to a friend, a gal that I've known now for a few years, and I've been trying to get her on the show. So I'm welcoming Delaney Besecker. She is a mortgage lender, loan officer with CrossCountry here in the Charlotte metro area. Welcome, Delaney.
Thanks, Regina. It's great to see you, hear your voice.
Absolutely. I wish our audience could have the visual, but they don't. And, like I said, I have been impressed with you from day one. You are a rising rock star. You are hardworking, passionate, and incredibly smart. So first, I want to start with your journey and how you decided to get into this line of work.
Well, thank you for the compliments. And my journey has been a little atypical of most loan officers, I think. So I started in corporate banking, which is a totally different field, totally different clientele base. We were working with large companies. We did some work with individuals with a net worth of at least $10 million or more. So very different from just general residential real estate where you have people of all walks of life, so I really enjoyed the client service side of what I was doing in corporate banking. And I decided during COVID that I didn't like working from home. Banking really I don't even know if they're back full time yet or not. I think that they're still doing kind of like a hybrid schedule, but I wanted something where I could talk to people and help people and be out in front of people every day. And so that's how I found mortgage lending. I was kind of thinking about what I might want to do that would allow me that type of contact with people. And I thought about real estate first. I really liked real estate. I had just purchased my first house and I took the real estate agency class, and I was talking to a relative of mine who said, Delaney, if you think about real estate and you like real estate with your background, have you ever considered mortgage lending? And this light bulb went off and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd never thought of that. And immediately I dropped all the real estate stuff and just went straight into mortgage lending. And it's been great. I really love what I do. I love helping people. I love being part of one of the most enjoyable and exciting processes of anyone's life, which is buying a house. It's a big
Absolutely.
a big milestone, and it's really great to be a part of that every day.
So I've always wondered, because there's so many brands out there, why did you choose CrossCountry?
Great question. I really enjoy CrossCountry's presence. I had worked at a couple other institutions prior to moving over to CrossCountry, and it was a name that I kept running into. And ultimately, CrossCountry is the largest national retail lender in the country. So we have a very large product base. For the most part, if it exists, we have it. And that allows me to offer the largest suite of products to my clientele possible.
So where are you licensed to actually work?
I'm licensed Virginia through Georgia. So Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia.
Wow. And are you primarily, what's your sweet spot for working? What kind of clients do you typically work with?
Yeah, most of my clientele is in North Carolina. I think this is a relationship-based business. To do it the right way, you have to be able to meet with your people and get to know them and develop a relationship with your clients. And so it's more difficult for me to do business in Georgia and Virginia, but I retain those licenses because I used to live in each of those states. So I have family and friends there. But in general, I really can't boil down my type of clientele to any cohort of person or income bracket. It really just comes down to location. And because I'm in Charlotte, I'm in Cornelius now, but local to Charlotte, I do a lot of business in North Carolina and then down into South Carolina.
Would you say it's a misconception that when people are buying a home, they assume that the realtor steers them towards the lender? I mean, what is the process?
I think it depends on the real estate agent that you work with. Some real estate agents, I would say, the more experienced real estate agents are going to have a referral for you, a direct referral where they will say, I trust this person. You should talk to this lender. I know that they'll do a good job for you. There are some agents that I know that take the approach of, just handing a few names and saying, call these people, see who you like, who you want to work with. I think that boils down to a preference of how they run their book of business and also general experience in the lending field, because even if you don't work in the lending field as a real estate agent, you have experience with lenders. You have different clients who bring different lenders to you. You have an experience with that lender, and then ultimately you decide whether or not you would refer more of your client base to that individual. So it depends on how an agent decides to run their business. I think that those, if you work with someone who is an experienced real estate agent, they're going to have at least a name to share with you.
Well, what do you wish people listening knew about you? Because, that's a difficult decision. And I guess it probably is sprung on you, even though you know it's coming. You think, okay, and you may make a quick decision. So how, as a consumer, what should we look for? And tell us.
That's a great question. That's a really great question. And I think that most people, especially in the elevated rate environment that we are in, the first thing they look for is lowest interest rate. And I would love for the public to know that can oftentimes be a big mistake. And I know that everybody has kind of heard of the saying, you get what you pay for. Institutions generally that have rock bottom interest rates, there's a reason that the interest rates are so low. And the reason that they will tell you is that they keep low overhead. They don't have these fancy offices, and they don't have a lot of expenses to cover. But the reality of the situation is they don't have high overhead, but the cost cutting spills over from just the nice to have, office space and better technology into the support systems that those companies hire. So you will have, maybe they're not hiring the most experienced underwriters, or maybe they're not hiring the most experienced processing team. And these are people that are imperative to the success of your mortgage application that you don't talk to, but they're a huge part of getting to the closing table. So it's dangerous sometimes to search around for the absolute lowest interest rate. You might run into a situation where you just don't have the best team behind you to support the biggest purchase of your life, which is buying a house. And the average purchase price in Charlotte, where I do most of my business, I think made it up to $430,000 or $420,000. So you're spending, quite a bit of money. You want to be able to trust the people who are going to take you from the contract to the closing table. And that includes your real estate agent. It includes your lender. Your lender is a huge part of it. You really want to make sure that your lender is equipped with the right people, the right team to support them, and the right product suite to make sure that they're offering you the best product to get you to the closing table in the most effective, efficient, and beneficial way possible.
So that process, what makes you stand out then the feedback? I've read your reviews. They're amazing. So brag about yourself for a little bit and share what sets you apart.
Absolutely. My process is very, very different from most lenders, and it stems from a poor lending experience that I had buying my first house. My first house, I got a call from my lender who was very helpful. And then she called me like 2 days before closing and was like, today's my last day. I'm not going to be at your closing. And that was interesting. And then also my real estate agent, I've met my real estate agent at the closing table, and he was like a half an hour late. So everything was pretty much done at that point. So it's a funny story. And for anybody who wants to hear more about how that all happened, I'd be happy to share it. But at the time, I was not in mortgage lending. So when I got into mortgage lending, I thought about the experience that I had and the ways that I would have changed it to make it better, or what I really wanted as a consumer on the consumer side. And I thought about, I really wish people would have been more transparent with me about my options and the different interest rates that were available and the different programs that were available. Because ultimately what I saw when I went into mortgage lending was there is no one size fits all mortgage product. And when you get on the phone and you talk to a lender and the lender says your rate is X, that lender has chosen an interest rate for you. In reality, there's tons of interest rates that apply. You can pick, and all of those interest rates affect your closing costs, affect how much money you have to bring to the table sometimes. There's a lot of different ways to structure a mortgage for every individual. So my process is based on helping the client find the best or the optimal structure, mortgage structure for them. There's a lot of mortgage strategy that goes into it. So I do a lot of face-to-face interaction with my clients, whether it's in person, truly in person, or over Microsoft Teams. And when I do that, I share the loan system with my client and we look at how am I getting to your final monthly payment that we're looking at? How am I arriving at the cash to close calculation? What do those numbers even mean? What's in your monthly payment? Here are all the programs that are available to you and all the interest rates that are available under these programs. We're going to talk about the concept of discount points, how they work for and against you, how you can utilize them to change your monthly payment, or how you can leverage seller credits to cover some of these costs. It's a whole overview of mortgage strategy. It becomes a little bit complex, especially for someone who doesn't like numbers. And that's why I request the in-person meeting to go over those details, because I think that it's easier to retain when you can see it and you can, be with the person that's explaining it to you.
That's amazing. You just I had a light bulb moment because, like you said earlier, not many of us do this several times in our lifetime. So there is no warm up. There's no practice. You just get out there and do it. But it sounds to me like finding the right personality, someone you trust who will do the hard work for you. I can see that. I was in your office one time and saw you writing notes. So tell our audience the process and how you carry on with your customers after the closing.
Oh, it was probably thank you notes that you saw, or birthday cards. So, after all of these in-person meetings that I have with my clients and I attend their closing, and we become friends, and the relationship doesn't stop there. I also call to make sure that my clients know where the first payment is going and, make sure they've got all that set up, because you're in the middle of a move, things get lost. It slips your mind and it's complicated. So I keep in touch with my clients. I think that gratitude is a really important thing in life in general, and not enough of it is shown in business. I think that mortgage lending as an industry has become very transactional, and it's so unfortunate because, like I said at the very beginning of this, you are a part of the biggest purchase of someone's life. And so to just say thanks for the paycheck and then never call again, I think is a real shame. So I keep in touch with my clients. I like to write a lot of thank you cards for just miscellaneous things. I like to write birthday cards. I like to write cards just to keep in touch, because it's nice to receive something other than a bill from your mortgage lender, especially when it's normally a big bill.
Yeah. How true is that? I know something about your personal life. I don't know if you're willing to share some recent big news.
Uh-huh. Oh, my marriage? Yeah. Yep. I got married on September 14th. It was a great day. We had an outdoor wedding. I was a little nervous about that because every other outdoor wedding I've been to, it either rained or was super cold. So we had perfect weather and the sun was out. It was just an absolutely beautiful day.
Well, congratulations, Delaney. You're such a wonderful person to know. Your professionalism, your work ethic it's unmatched. So I appreciate you being on our show today, and I can't wait to see you next time for lunch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Regina. I really appreciate being here.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you very soon.
Talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com, or call 980-351-5719.